Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be reviewing the Nyxi Wizard and the Nyxi Hyperion. These are two Switch controllers that are roughly based on the original Nintendo Gamecube controller. I'm going to go over all of them in the three different ways that you can use these controllers. These controllers are set up like Joy-Cons, so you can take them apart, so there's several different ways that you can use them. And yeah, my opinion kind of differs depending on how you're going to use them. So let's dive right in and look at these two controllers. First we have the Nyxi Wizard. Now, this controller is more closely based on the original GameCube controller. You can see that the layout is pretty much the same. So for this one, it's just like the Joy-Cons meets the original Nintendo GameCube controller. Next up, we have the Hyperion, and you can see the Hyperion, it looks different than the original GameCube one. For the Hyperion, it has the same style, but it mixes it up a little bit. This one, I would actually say it's a fusion of three different controllers. It's a fusion of Joy-Cons, the original Nintendo GameCube controller, and an Xbox controller. If you look at the A, B, Y, and X, this is like a Xbox controller. So the Hyperion, it's a mixture of three different controllers, whereas with the Wizard, it's a mixture of two different controllers. So now that you know the basics about these two controllers, let's jump in and look at the different ways that you can use them, and I'm going to give my recommendations based on each. When you get one of these controllers, it comes in three different pieces. These side two, they're like Joy-Cons, and then in the middle, there is a divider. This is the first way to use the controllers. For the Wizard, this is actually my favorite way to use this controller. So you can see, you can just hold it like this, and yeah, it feels really, really good. When you're playing it like this is actually the closest you can get to the Nintendo GameCube controller. The only difference is this one, of course, has the switch buttons, and also it's a little bit heavier. So if you're somebody who doesn't like your controllers heavy, then maybe you'd want to pass on using it this way. Next up, we have the Hyperion. The Hyperion, as I was saying, that one's a little bit heavy, but this one, it's actually much lighter. This one, when you hold it in your hands, it's, I wouldn't say it's like nothing, but yeah, you can definitely feel that it's pretty light. When you're using the controller this way, I have to say that the Hyperion has a really unique feel. Me personally, I've never really used a controller that's like this, like a fusion of three different types of controllers I've used before. I have to say that I really like the Joy-Cons on this one, and I like the more traditional setup. For me, that's one part of the GameCube controller that I'm kind of tossed up about. I know some people, they don't like how the buttons are really different on the original GameCube controller, and so if that is you, then you might prefer this one. Also, if you like a lighter controller, then also this is the one for you. Category number one, just using the controllers like this. Which one do I prefer? Personally, I prefer the Wizard if I'm going to be playing it in this mode. It's a little bit heavy, but I feel like when you hold it with two hands, it really offsets that kind of heavy feeling. Also, it feels so much like the original GameCube controller. So yeah, if you're going to be playing in this mode, I slightly would prefer the Wizard. But again, if you like your controllers lighter, then I would say go with the Hyperion. And also, if you prefer the more traditional layout of the buttons, I also would say go with the Hyperion. Now we get to break this bad boy apart, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when you use them as Joy-Cons. So on the back here, you have a button, and then when you push this button, the controller is just going to slide right off, and it's going to be like a Joy-Con. On this side as well, all you have to do is push this button right here, and then you can slide the divider right out. Now that you've done that, we have these two controllers as Joy-Cons. So this way, if you're playing the Switch on TV, you can do it like this. Okay, of all of these different setups, I have to be honest with you guys, this is the most awkward. As I was saying before, this controller is a little bit heavier than the Hyperion. So when you're using the Wizard, yeah, for me, it feels really awkward to use these as two separate Joy-Cons. Like, you can do it, but for me personally, like, I don't think I would ever have this as my preferred way of playing on the Switch. Now, let's talk about the Hyperion when you're using it as Joy-Cons. Again, there's a button right on the back that you can pull it out, and they just become Joy-Cons just like that. Now, this one, it's a little bit wider. It's still really light, but yeah, this one is a little bit wider than the Wizard. So now you have the two different controllers, and they're like this. And I have to say that for this one, compared to the Wizard, I think this is much more like natural feeling. You can see they both like fit in my hands, and there's not like a section that comes like out or anything. It just feels really natural to use it like this. I still would say, for me personally, I don't really like using almost any controllers as just two separate Joy-Cons. But yeah, if you have to do that, then the Hyperion is slightly better than the Wizard, in my opinion. And of course, the last way that we can use these two controllers is just hooking them straight up to your Nintendo Switch. Okay, before I get into it, just look at this. Like, when you put the Wizard on your Nintendo Switch, it becomes a lot bigger than any other controller I've ever put on the Switch. For me, this is both good and bad. Again, we're talking about that weight factor. If you're holding the Switch like this, so you have the Switch in the middle, and then you have these two Wizards on the sides, for me, it's like too heavy and a little bit like awkward feeling. I have seen online that some people, they prefer this. If you have big hands, then maybe you would like this setup, but for me personally, and I feel like probably for most of you guys, this setup, it's a little bit heavy. It does work if you are laying in bed and then you can put the Switch down somewhere and then, you know, you just have your hands kind of on it and then you can play, but like this, it's a little bit heavy in my opinion. Again, you can just push this button right here and it's going to slide right off. Okay, and the last one, we're going to be putting the Hyperion onto the Nintendo Switch. Again, they just slide right in. And first, let's take a look. You can see already that this look is a little bit thinner. Yeah, it's much lighter. There's not a huge weight in the middle, and it's not too heavy on either side. I have to say, playing like this, it's much more comfortable for me personally. It's not so heavy as you're holding it, so you know you can play like this. If you want to play it in bed, if you want to do any of those types of things, then yeah, the Hyperion, it slips right on, and it's not too heavy. But again, if you have bigger hands, then maybe you might prefer the Wizard. So now that I've broken down both the Wizard and the Hyperion for you guys, I hope you guys have a better idea. If you guys ever decide to get one of these controllers, then you probably know which one is for you. For me personally, out of all of these 6 ways, actually my favorite way to play is still with the Wizard on the TV and then just the controller all together, all 3 pieces together. That's kind of my preferred way to play. However, if I'm playing on the run or I want to use the Joy-Cons separately, then I'm probably going to go with the Hyperion. Please let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of these 2 controllers, and how do you guys usually play with your Nintendo Switch controllers? Do you have them together? Do you play them separately as Joy-Cons, or do you put them in the console and play on the go? Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you guys next time.